Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great. Today's video is going to be a quick endgame tutorial. So what we have on the board is a very famous position called the Lucena Position. And hopefully after this tutorial you will be able to win this position if you encounter it in your games. So here it's white to move, but it doesn't really matter who goes first because white is going to win regardless. So here white would love to promote his pawn by first stepping his king out of the way, but at the moment this isn't possible because black's king controls e7 and e8. White's first step is to kick away the black king. So here rook to f2 check. King to g7, probably the best defense for black. So let's look at other alternatives. So if king to g8, this runs into similar results as king to g7. And if king g6, then black's king no longer controls the f8 square. You can go king to e8. Next move is going to be king to f8, where the king is shielded by the rook. So here black can't do much. He can give a check, but after king to f8, rook d1, he has to keep an eye on the pawn, but here rook f7 protecting. And king to e8, you're covering the queening square. The next move is going to be rook e7, and there's no stopping the pawn from queening. So let me just play through the variation. Let's go back to other possible lines. So here, what if king to e6? This also loses immediately because white goes king to e8, and next move is going to be d8 queen. Black has no defense. Let's go back to the main position. So how does white proceed after king to g7? So here king to e7 right away runs into a barrage of checks from the rook. And here white can't make any progress. So what happens if white plays rook to g2? Well, simply king back to f7 and white's king cannot step out of the way of the pawn. So the move that white should play here is rook to f4. The idea is that white is going to move his king out of the way, and with the help of the rook, white is going to intercept checks from the black rook. And with the black king completely cut off from the action, black has no chance here. So Aron Nimzowitsch famously described this maneuver as building a bridge, where white is going to use his king and his rook to eventually create a bridge, if you will, between black's rook and white's pawn. And we will soon see this in action. So the question here is, why put the rook on the 4th rank? Well, if you play rook f5, this allows king g6 with tempo on the rook. So rook f4 is the most precise move. What about rook to f3? Well, this also doesn't work because the rook is simply too far away from white's king to form a bridge. If this is still confusing, bear with me for a bit, it will soon make sense. So back to the main position. So black can't really do much here. Rook c2. So if you played rook to a1, then rook c4, and white's king can safely step on the c file and make room for the pawn. So here, there are many ways to win this. I'm just going to play through a simple line. And white is going to queen. So back to the main position, rook c2, and now white is going to step his king out of the way. So a typical reply for black here would be to start checking the king. Rook e2 check, king to d6, rook d2, and you have to be careful here. So don't make the mistake of going king to e5 because then rook takes d7, and this is going to be a draw. So after rook to d2 check, you have to play king to e6. Black continues to check, rook e2, but now king d5. And now rook d4 intercepting the check. And black's rook is completely cut off from the pawn. So you can see here that the king and the rook form sort of a bridge between black's rook and the pawn. Black has no defense for d8 queen. So I hope you found this short tutorial helpful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.